racism in football, especially in Spain, remains an open wound that deeply affects black athletes who face humiliating and discriminatory insults inside stadiums. These attacks are not mere isolated incidents, they reveal a mentality of racial superiority that is still present and often neglected by the entities responsible for the sport. When players like Vinicius Jr., Dani Alves and Samuel Eto'o are targeted by racist insults and their complaints receive superficial responses, a devastating message is sent. Racism, although condemned in official speeches, is still not treated with the seriousness it deserves. This video examines how this mentality continues to affect football, reveals the omission of confederations, and how failing to severely punish offenders ultimately normalizes racism in stadiums. Vinicius Jr.'s story is emblematic for understanding the gravity of this issue. In recent years, the Brazilian player has been the target of numerous racist attacks while playing in the Spanish league, La Liga. In a match against Valencia, fans insulted him with racist chants and gestures mimicking monkeys, a hateful and premeditated attack that has no place in a sporting environment. However, the incident that shocked the world occurred when, in Madrid, a doll wearing Vinicius's jersey was hung from a bridge in a clear attempt at intimidation and symbolic violence. The response from the confederations, however, was vague and ineffective, with penalties that did nothing to curb the repetition of insults. Instead of acting decisively and sending a clear message against racism, the entities opted to downplay the situation with fines and empty promises of change. This lack of action reflects a culture of impunity that allows racist fans to continue feeling secure in their actions. Vinicius is not the only one to suffer in this situation. Samuel Eto'o, one of the greatest strikers of his generation, experienced racism while playing for Barcelona. In 2006, during a match against Zaragoza, he heard racist chants that intensified to the point where he almost left the field. His teammates convinced him to continue playing, but the impact was devastating, not only for Eto'o but for everyone who witnessed the event. The Spanish Federation imposed a fine on the club, but the penalty was minimal and did not have the necessary impact to prevent new cases. More than a decade later, Eto'o remembers the episode as an open wound, and the lack of a firm response demonstrates the omission of confederations, which, by hesitating to apply stringent sanctions, perpetuate a permissive culture towards racism. The neglect of this issue not only harms the players, but also contributes to the normalization of racist behaviors among fans. Dani Alves, another football icon, was also a victim of racism while playing for Barcelona. In a match against Villarreal, a fan threw a banana onto the pitch in an explicit act of racial dehumanization. Alves, ironically, ate the banana in response, a gesture that generated a wave of support on social media and went viral, but La Liga's response was disappointing. The club involved received only a fine and a formal statement, without impactful actions to ensure that such behavior would not be repeated. This superficiality in response reflects a larger problem where punitive actions do not correspond to the severity of the racist acts that players face on the field. Alves' situation further highlights the lack of accountability from sports authorities and the disdain for the dignity of athletes facing these aggressions. The omission of confederations extends beyond Spain. In 2019, Italian striker Mario Balotelli, then playing for Brescia, was subjected to racist chants from Verona fans. His response was immediate. He kicked the ball towards the racist fans and threatened to leave the field, making it clear that he was tired of such aggressions. The response from Italian entities, as in many other cases, was moderate and insufficient, with a light penalty for the club. FIFA, while expressing support for Balotelli, did not implement any rigorous measures and continued to promote anti-racism campaigns that, in practice, have little effect. This demonstrates that as long as confederations hesitate to adopt exemplary punishments, racism will remain a reality for many athletes, and the sense of impunity among racist fans will continue to prevail. Beyond individual cases, the atmosphere in stadiums often becomes hostile, creating a culture where fans feel free to express their racist beliefs without fear of repercussions. This behavior is fueled by the lack of severe consequences. For example, FIFA implemented a 3-step protocol to deal with racism situations, which includes stopping the game and even the possibility of ending it, but in practice, actions are still very limited. The frequency with which these guidelines are activated is minimal, and often, The league prefers to ignore the insults, leaving players feeling abandoned and unprotected. The implementation of this protocol is, in fact, a missed opportunity to take a significant step towards a safer and more respectful environment, but it is frequently ignored in favor of a more passive approach. The lack of commitment from confederations to address racism in football is alarming. Often they engage in marketing campaigns that promise to combat discrimination, but when it comes to taking action, the punishments and measures taken are weak. The sense of impunity among racist fans is fueled by the ineffectiveness of institutional responses. Instead of a united fight against racism, what is seen are fragmented and ineffective responses that do not tackle the root of the problem. Confederations need to recognize that their omission contributes to the perpetuation of discrimination, and that silence in the face of racism is, in fact, a form of complicity. Racism in football is not just a problem for players, it reflects a society that, in many cases, still accepts prejudice and discrimination. The responsibility for this situation does not rest solely with fans, but also with the entities that should protect and promote the sport. The fight against racism must be a priority not only in words but also in actions. Severe punishments and a proactive stance from confederations are essential to change the culture, both inside and outside the stadiums. Unity among players, clubs and fans is vital to transforming football into a safe and welcoming space for all. This change will not happen overnight, but if confederations adopt firm and decisive stances, it will be possible to build an environment where everyone can feel respected and valued. Pressure on these entities should come not only from players but also from fans and the media, who have a crucial role in demanding real and meaningful changes. The experiences of players like Vinicius Jr., Samuel Eto'o, and Dani Alves cannot be seen as isolated incidents, but as part of a continuous struggle against racism that must be faced with courage and determination. Combating racism is a collective responsibility, and as long as confederations avoid taking a firm stand, the sport will continue to fail in its promise of equality and unity. It is essential for athletes, supported by a solid base of fans, to join forces to demand that federations adopt stricter and more effective measures. Only then can football truly be a reflection of the diversity and inclusion it represents. By taking a clear stand against racism, we are not only defending the rights of players, but also promoting a more just and equitable society, both on and off the field.